Hi guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the PS2 Collector, episode 65. And guys, at the moment we have 410 games into the collection, and you know the drill by now. I've picked up yet another 5 games, and one of those 5 games is very historic, very rare, and as of yet the most expensive game I have picked up. So guys, this is something you definitely do not want to miss. Stay tuned. Right guys, so let's begin with the first game of this video. Game number 411, and that is SingStar Pop World. If you see my previous episode, I've been collecting SingStar games quite recently, and they're all similar, they're all rhythm games. And what makes this game avoidable is that you need a microphone controller to play this game. You can't play this game with a regular controller. For me, that is a huge red flag. How on earth did the developer not think that we should make this game programmable for a controller? But they didn't, and they required us to spend a lot of money to buy these controllers for one specific game. Unacceptable, unforgivable. At the time, these games flopped. That's my personal opinion. But again, like I said in my previous videos, if you do enjoy rhythm games, if you do enjoy music, if you do enjoy karaoke, this game is an absolute must buy for you. But keep in mind, you do need a microphone controller. So guys, this is game number 410 with the white label, of course, SingStar Pop World. Right guys, so on to the next game, game number 412, and that is Konami's Dancing Stage Megamix. So when it comes to dancing games, I remember back in the day in the arcades there was a game called Dance Dance Revolution, and that game revolutionized dancing games and were a huge success in the arcades. However, when it made itself to the home console, such as the PS2 here, these games, the best experience to do it is to play with a dancing mat. You can play with the controller, but to have the most fun, you've got to have the dancing mat. And the dancing mat, this game will make you put up a sweat, because the amount of insane inputs that you have to do, you have to be extremely fit and a dancing connoisseur to play this game and get the high score. However, if you're a casual gamer and you want to lose a bit of weight and you want to move around, this game might be just for you. However, make sure you get the dancing mat, because that is the best way to play this game. And guys, that's game number 412. Nearly lost words there. Dancing Stage Megamix. Right guys, so on to the next game, game number 413, and it's a sports title, and that is Tour de France Centenary Edition for the PS2. When it comes to cycling, even though you don't watch the sport, you should know what the Tour de France is. It's a cycling race across the French country. So, what made this competition successful was Lance Armstrong before he was caught with his shenanigans. But the game, how did it play? For me, I don't play these kind of games. I find cycling games boring. Not to say it's not a bad game. It has the basics. You have to create your own racer, develop him, make him more successful, get more sponsors, and upgrade your character. It has the basic fundamentals when it comes to sport games. But would I recommend it to the audience? The only audience that this game appears to attract is definitely the cycle sports enthusiasts and people who do enjoy Tour de France races. So if you are one of them people, this game is a must play for you. However, if you are people who despise cyclists like myself, avoid this game at all costs. So guys, that's game number 413, Le Tour de France Centenary Edition. Right guys, so on to the next game, game number 414, and that is Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare. So when it came to survival horror games on the PS2, we had the golden generation. We had the Silent Hill series, the Resident Evil series. There were hidden gems like Haunting Ground and Ruler Rose. Games like this, Alone in the Dark, unfortunately got missed out on, and these games were considered hidden gems. So Alone in the Dark, I like the fact that you can select each character. When you select each character, they both have different perspectives of how the games can be played. So for example, if you just select the first character, it will be heavily action based. If you pick the second character, it will be more puzzle based. So the replayability on these adventures, so it's like playing two games in one, which is a very smart move from the developer. The story is really good, and the environment, you got to give the developers credit. The environment is very eerie and does get very uncomfortable. However, the negatives, the tank controls, PS2 was very famous for it in that era. The fixed camera angle, which was very outdated at the time, was in this game, and it was very clunky and very hard to maneuver. And sometimes the lighting in this game, the lighting in this game, the PS2 was not good enough in my opinion. They should have, put more light in the game so it can help the gamer see what they are doing, because it came to a point where it was so dark, thinking, where's the light? How do I see? But you can fix that if you increase the brightness. But I would recommend that if you have bad eyes. So guys, Alone in the Dark, the new Nightmare, is it a hidden gem? Is it worth playing? Leave it in the comments below. And guys, that's game number 414, Alone in the Dark, the new Nightmare. Right guys, so on to the final game of this video, game number 415. Now this game is officially considered to be the final game ever released for the PS2, and that is Pro Evolution Soccer 2014 for the PS2. But this game was released for the final time on 8th of November 2013, and in that exact month, there was the launch of the PS4. They were releasing PS2 games the same time as PS4 games. The greatest console of all time, without a shadow of a doubt. So how was the final swan song for the PS2? I've got to say, PS14 used the same engine as PS6, because at the time the PS2 hardware, you can only take it as far as you can. It was not as updated as the PS3 and Xbox 360 version, but it was a great game on the PS2 in its own right. It also had the Champions League and Copa Libertadores license, as well as the UEFA Europa League. However, it lacked licenses for certain clubs because some clubs were only EA exclusive, which made sense. And guys, as of yet, this game right here is the most expensive game that I have got in my hunt. This game cost me a whopping £100, and guys, it's worth it for any collector, for any PS2 enthusiast or video game collector to own the final PS2 game ever released. The rarity of it. Check this out. This game was only released in Europe. It was not released in Japan, surprisingly, because Japan created this game, Konami, and it was not released in North America. It was only released in Europe. Very limited, because I never saw it in the market at the time. I bought this game on the PS3. However, this game was released for the PS2, and it was the final chapter of the greatest era of gaming, and the final chapter of the console that gave us the world's greatest games, and was the final chapter of the greatest era of gaming, in my opinion. Will we see that era again? No. And like they say, the most important part of a story is not the beginning, it's not the middle, and it's the end. And PS2 finally closed their doors and finally closed their release of games with PES 2014. What an end of a beautiful era. Those 13.5 years in the market, we saw consoles like GameCube, Xbox, Xbox 360, PS3, PSP, PSP, Nintendo Wii, Nintendo DS. You have to live to see it. If you were there, you know exactly what I was on about. And for me, man, that era, man, was special. And for me to own the final PS2 game, that £100 is absolutely worth it. And what way to end this show with the final game ever released for the PS2, game number 415 on this hunt, and the most expensive yet. And guys, what else can I say? The hunt is hitting up. I want to get 1,000 games end this year. If I do get 1,000 games, I will then own 25% of the PS2 library, and I'm gonna go full throttle with me spending big bucks on these games. So guys, until next time, take care.